What's up, everybody? Welcome to another special IG Live. Today, I'm going to be talking to Latino Rebels entertainment correspondent, Cristina Escobar. You probably know her from her reviews, from her interviewing John Leguizamo on a recent episode of Latino Rebels Radio, and she's got some things cooking. She's going to be at the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival, which starts today, I believe, ends Sunday. And I'm going to be bringing her on because she had a really successful, popular, a lot of people read it last Friday. We ran a piece from her about all the Latino shows being renewed. Maybe a year ago, she was writing the opposite article about how Gentefied got canceled and other shows, and now she's talking about how maybe Hollywood's getting the message that Latino audiences, we're big streaming audience, we're a big movie going audience, bigger than our proportion of the general population. Here she is, and I wanted to bring her on and talk about that piece and her plans for the LALIF, Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival. So let's bring her on. Thank you guys for joining us.
Hello,
Hey,
¿cómo está?
hey,
How
Christina, what's going
are
on?
you? I am good. I heard a little bit of your introduction. Yeah, a lot going on in Latino representation.
For sure. It's kind of like I said, you were writing the almost the opposite articles like a year ago, exactly a year ago, and it's almost like uh, Hollywood has woken up and smelled the café con leche because now they're doing the opposite. They're renewing shows, and it's a big time for Latino representation with Blue Beetle coming out. I mean, you'll tell us all the shows, all the movies where it's like super Latino now. Colombian Supergirl in the upcoming Flash movie, right? But yeah, I guess should we start with the piece that we ran last Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had pitched me the idea of we're always like I said, we were always talking about Latino shows getting canceled, Latinos not getting their due. It's let's write a story about the Latino shows getting renewed. First of all, were you surprised by how well it did?
I was surprised. I think the cancellations are still happening. It's not like that has gone away, but there's also things to celebrate. And I felt like in particular, we've gotten a little bit of a snowball effect around 4 big renewals, including 2 shows on network television starring Latinas, Lopez versus Lopez, which we've talked about before. I know, Hector, you and I have different perhaps views on that one, but also Not Dead Yet starring Gina Rodriguez. And it's exciting to see those shows get a second season. And then also on the streaming side, we've been finally getting some renewals after some hard-won first seasons, including a few shows coming out this summer and that are gonna that will be super great, including This Fool out on Hulu. I loved the first season. I can't wait for the second season. And Gloria Calderon Kellett, her show with Love is getting a second season on Prime Video, and they're also doing a screening at La Leaf. So fun to see finally some shows get second seasons. I really think in this streaming era that shows need like 6 seasons to breathe because there are shorter seasons than they used to be. It's only 10 episodes versus 22 like it used to be. And so really to tell a full, rich story, you need those additional seasons. And it's been frustrating to see shows, including really good shows like the Gordita Chronicles, not get them.
Yeah, and a show needs room to mature and really for the writers to even find the potential in the premise of the show, right? We just saw, I don't know if you followed Succession, we just saw the 4th season, which was really great, amazing, but it takes a while for a show to really understand what to do with the characters. And like you said, it feels like Latinos get one shot, one season, and if it doesn't do well, there's the whole thing, like, Seinfeld, all these famous, white people shows didn't do that well the first season, right? And it behooves, Hollywood to let Latino artists as well, really mature and really, develop the material that they have.
Yeah. And I would say even when our shows do well, sometimes they still get canceled.
Yeah.
And then
People were saying, I just saw somebody said, RIP, the Gordita Chronicles, Gentefi was another one. Yeah, it's almost weird when you're hearing about a show and everybody's talking about it, like Gentefi, like Gordita Chronicles, and then canceled. It's like, who are they? Who are the Hollywood execs talking to? That they would think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, they're not talking to us, for sure. But I'm glad that we are talking. Yeah, and that we are celebrating our renewals, because that's the other thing is, like, I don't know, I feel like if we're a doom and gloom channel all the time, that's not fun either.
Yeah.
And that there is progress being made, and we have to make sure that we're focusing as much on the success as the failures. And so I felt really excited to see that so many people were sharing and excited about the piece, and both commenting on, like, when this hasn't happened, but also celebrating the times that it has. And hopefully if we keep doing that, we can keep, like, pushing and getting more and more renewals, because we have to show both ways, right? That we're excited when the shows get renewals just as much as we're upset when they get canceled.
For sure.
If not a little bit more, maybe.
For sure. And the topic of, Latino shows getting renewed and Latino representation kind of lends itself as a nice segue to the kind of the other half of this IG Live, which is that you are going to be at LALIFF this weekend, the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival. And that was really, shout out to you. That was your initiative, right? You said to me, we put so much into, having me at Sundance, which is it's not a Latino film festival. It's a white film festival. So let's put that much resource and energy and time and attention into, one of our festivals, which is, the LALIFF. And so you wrote a piece that we ran yesterday about the I think it was the 8 shows that the movies you're looking to see. You want to give us like a top 3 or 5 or however much breath you want to spend with us?
Yes. So I guess to your first point about why LALIFF and the New York Latino Film Festival are important, was interesting. When I went to Sundance, it was my first time going to that festival, and I could see that there was really a big investment in the Latino communities there. Perhaps it wasn't big enough, perhaps, there's definitely room for improvements, but there was money and time and energy spent on our filmmakers and building our community at Sundance, which, is one of, like, the premier film festivals, right? And I was looking around, I was like, this is awesome. But also I hope we're spending the same amount of resources building up our own institutions. I think we have to do both things, right? We have to infiltrate and take up space in mainstream places, but we also need to invest in our stuff. Because if we don't have our own stuff, if we're not building our own pipelines, then, nada va a pasar. Like, we're going to be stuck. And so I was really excited that, Futuro is sending me to LALIFF. I think it's a really exciting festival. It's been around for a long time. It was founded by, Edward James Olmos and a group of amazing Latinos. But one of the really cool things that they do is that it's not just a film festival, right? They're part of a bigger nonprofit that does a bunch of stuff, including building up young filmmakers, including the film festival, including like an animation wing. And so they're really sort of doing the work of investing in our community and building stuff up. So at the film festival, there's a bunch of different stuff. There's like big blockbuster hits. Flamin' Hot is going to be there, the Eva Longoria Cheetos movie, which is, I think, going to be huge for our community. I'm really excited for us to show up and be able to see that. Spider-Man is going to be there opening this weekend with some of the stars from the show, like big blockbuster stuff. Primo, who I wrote about earlier, just got its first season. I hope I'm writing a story soon about its renewal. Is showing there with Love is doing episodes. Like, the big Hollywood stuff is there. but also like some cool indie arts flicks were there. And so for the piece for Latino Rebels, I felt like we should spend some time talking about the films that maybe people won't get to see other places or that you won't get to hear about. And there are some really beautiful shows, documentaries, feature-length films coming up, which I'm excited about. So let's see, to go through a couple of them. There's a documentary called The Team, which is about a group of Argentinian students who, back after the dictatorship fell, learned how to become forensic scientists. And basically their specialty is digging up mass graves, which sounds like, one, something you wouldn't think you could make a whole career out of because it should be rare, right? But it's not. Shocker, there's human rights abuses all over the world. There's all sorts of this stuff to investigate in Latin America and beyond, and how they're able to take what are tragedies, right? Massacres, mass graves, unmarked mass graves, and find and give peace and hope to some of the families. I thought that was just a really, really powerful documentary. And there's just so many more other ones. I watched one, Hope Soledad, last night, about two women trying to find peace and hope, I would say, in a pilgrimage in Oaxaca. That was a beautiful and really different sort of feeling and sounding movie. And so I just hope that we as a community are uplifting the indie filmmakers, the ones who are coming up, as much as we're showing up for the big blockbuster films, because we need like all of the things, right? We need movies and TV shows and indie films and blockbusters and shorts and just like everything. And so it's exciting to see La Leaf celebrate all of that and to be a part of, making it as big as it can be.
You mentioned Primo a while back, and I saw a bunch of people saying that they love Primo. I love Primo. It's, one of those things where, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but when I go to watch like a new Latino show or a Latino movie, I'm like, how much are they going to pander, right? Me and my wife Rocio hate when Latino shows pander to Latino audiences by crowbarring Latinidad into it rather than it be organic. And Primo doesn't do that. Primo was like, it was so refreshing. I'm like, finally, it's 2023 and we're watching movies and shows where Latinidad, and you talked about this in some of your other reviews, where the character's Latinidad or Latino-ness is not the main thing, right? It's just a side note, right? Not even a side note. They just happen to be Latino. And if people are just finding out about your impeccable taste in film and in TV shows, the one, I always give a shout out. The best recommendation I ever got from you was Undone.
Oh, so good.
Which was, what was it, on Hulu or Amazon Prime or something?
Prime
Amazon
Video, they call it now.
What is it called? What's it called now?
Prime Video.
Prime Video. If you haven't seen Undone, people, go watch Undone. It's about two sisters, right? Half Mexican, half Polish, right? And I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of like sci-fi in a way, or kind of, they can travel through time and fix their generational trauma. I mean, if that doesn't, hook you already, if you're not, saving that on your, what to watch list, I don't know what does, but it was a great show. And again, like their Latinidad, their Latino-ness was part of the show, but it wasn't, they could have been from anywhere, really, right? And that they were from Mexico, and that they had that generational trauma where they show with the grandma and the mom. It just made it, as a Latino viewer, you're like, oh my God, like this is kind of the stuff that you daydream about making, and then it's so great to see that people are making it. And that's the other thing I wanted to say, is that for people not in media, or if you're not involved in like the artistic world like you are, in the media industry like you are, there you get the sense that like Latinos aren't doing a lot, they're not creating a lot. But when you are in this space, you and I hear about, know about, meet different people, Latinos doing all kinds of stuff all the time, all around us. They're just not getting the attention. They're just not getting the platform, which is why, Latino Rebels, and that's why I wanted to bring you on to Latino Rebels, because we need whatever we don't have that many platforms to begin with, and those platforms need to be used to highlight good Latino work, not just any Latino work. Like, yes, we have to applaud all Latinos doing anything, right? Because doing something is better than doing nothing. Creating is better than not creating. But what I like about you is that you have taste, right? You will say you will choose things that you really like, right? And if something's mainstream, I guess I'm explaining everybody to you that doesn't know you, right? If Christina will, you're not in my presence, so is that rude to not talk about you? Um, what was that?
Just finish your thought. Keep going. Christina will. I want to hear it.
Christina will, if it's mainstream, and if she doesn't like something about something that's really popular, she will say what she doesn't like about it, and it's smart, and it comes from your vast experience. Also, people were trying to find out who you were, what your bona fides were. So give people a little bit of introduction who you are, because people who don't know, people have been living under a rock.
Yeah. Me llamo Cristina Escobar. I am the entertainment correspondent for Latino Rebels, which means I get to write all sorts of fun stuff about TVs and movies for the site. I'm also the editor-in-chief and co-founder of Latina Media Co., which is an indie publication uplifting Latina and Femme Latinx perspectives in media. You can find my work there at Latino Rebels. I write for Roger Ebert and Pop Sugar. I'm all over the place. Thank you. And just to pick up on a couple of those different threads that you mentioned, I think it is important to have some Latino shows about identity and about what it means to be Latino in this world. But they certainly cannot be all of the shows, and I don't even really think they should be most of the shows, because most of the time we're out here just like living life, right? You're not like thinking, oh, as a Latino, I do this, or oh, as a Latino, or maybe Hector, you do, because you're
No, I don't.
the editor of Latino Rebels, but I don't, like nobody really lives their life like that. So, entonces, I think that most of the shows need to make it be like a texture, right? Which is what Primo does so well. Like, those characters are so Latino. I felt like I had many of those conversations in my living room with my friends, with my family. Like, it felt really Latino to me. But they never talk about it. It's not like something that they're obsessed with or they're even really processing. They're just like doing their stuff, which makes a lot of sense for like a show set in San Antonio, which is like casi Mexico, right? Like, you're not really like worried about it. You're just doing. And so I think it's really great to have those types of shows too. And I think that's what's one of the things that's like exciting about La Leaf and some of these renewals is we're seeing that, right? Like, yes, we can have shows that deal with identity, but it doesn't have to be all of it. And I think this Fool does that really well too, where it's mostly the texture. Every once in a while, it like dips a little bit into identity issues, but it's not an identity show. It's a comedy. It's like a buddy comedy. And so I think that is really important. I would say another thing about me and about criticism, and that I think about a lot, is like as a critic, I like to think about shows, what are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to reach? It's not so much like, does Cristina like this or not? I mean, if I like something, if I love something, I'm going to shout about it and how great it is. But I also think sometimes there are shows that you have to look and say like, okay, maybe the sort of like cheesy throwback Lopez versus Lopez comedy is not for everyone, but like, let's talk about the things that this show does well, or if it has problems, let's talk about those problems within its genre. And so I try to situate movies and shows within what they're trying to accomplish. I don't think everything needs to be like an Oscar Best Picture. Like, I love J-Lo movies and they're bad and I'm into it. Like, I like that. And so I think that that's fine too. You just kind of have to go in, like, if you're thinking The Mother is going to win an Oscar, like, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're there to watch like J-Lo kick ass and be beautiful, you're going to love it because it's silly and fun,
Yeah, no, and it's so, as a critic, you must have learned way long time ago, like, it's pointless to say something's good, something's bad, because there's no accounting for taste, right?
Yeah, good or bad doesn't really mean very much. I mean, you can say like low production value or high production value, but that's just money, right? That's not artistic vision. That's not artistic value. And so I try to think about like what's important or interesting or different about a show, like what makes it significant, if anything, and then write about that. And so like for me, I don't know, I think about like Primo, I was really excited to see like that cast in there and to see those actors and their diversity and the way the show used Latinidad as texture and how it explored masculinity. I thought there was just so many good, interesting, and different ways that it was sort of pushing the envelope around representation. That was really exciting. And so yeah, good and bad is so subjective. You know, you can say this worked for me or this didn't work for me, but you know, everybody has different tastes, right? And different things that they like. So it's more about like saying like, well, if you like this, you'll like that, or you won't like this or like that. It's sort of like guidance more than evaluation.
I like that idea of Latinidad as texture. I really like that. But as far as your coverage of La Leaf, like anything you want to tell people who, you know, our followers, what you plan to cover? Your Christina will be taking over Latino Rebels Instagram while she's there. You want to tell us what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, so the festival starts tonight with Flamin' Hot. I'm not there yet, but I think it's going to be an amazing show, partly because I think that film is in many ways a warm embrace of particularly Mexican Americans, Chicanos. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays in a more Latino audience than perhaps the mixed audience it would have gotten when it showed at South by Southwest. And we'll see. So it starts with that. And then I will be, yes, taking over IG to do a bunch of posts throughout the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, catching a variety of different stuff. So, you know, La Leaf has feature-length films. Yes, short films. It has music. It has panels. I'm going to be moderating one. So hopefully I'll be able to give my phone to a friend to capture some of that.
What was the topic of the panel you're moderating?
Oh, well, Hector, it's about festivals. So, and that particular role that festivals can have, both mainstream and culturally specific Latino ones, in encouraging our filmmakers and helping them break through. So something that is obviously important to me, and be speaking to two Latinas who have worked at programming festivals, including at Sundance. So it's going to be a really good conversation. But I'm excited to get sort of and provide to our audience sort of a full taste of like, what does La Leaf feel like, what are the different things that it does, because it really does have a diverse set of programming, including youth work. So it'll be good to see and share what all of that is. And then, of course, I love talking to filmmakers, directors, and writers, because y'all don't know, they are the ones who actually make the decisions that make the shows that you love so powerful and so unique. You know, we see the end product, which are the actors, and not that they don't do good and important work, but really the filmmakers and the directors are behind the decisions that really can make that create the show. So I'll be speaking to a bunch of those folks as well to get a sense of how they crafted their films that premiered at La Leaf.
I love watching the Hollywood Reporters roundtables. You know, they do one with directors and they do one with drama actors and comedy actors. I just watched a drama one yesterday, had Pedro Pascal in there, and the guy who played Dahmer, Roman from Succession, the guy from Snowfall. Mm-hmm. And anyways, they, you know, the journalist, I forget her name, she asked the actors, you know, when you have a good season, first season, are you nervous, like, about, you know, are you thinking, how are we going to top this? How are we going to top this, you know, with the second season? And all the actors said, that's not our job. Like, thankfully, that's not our job. That's the writers, and that's the producers, and that's the director. We just show up, we put in our 16 hours sometimes, but then we go home. We don't have to think about that. And it's true, right? I'm bringing that up because we're in the midst of the writer's strike. And as a writer, you know, writers don't get the glory, right? It's all the actors and the director, but the writers are the people who come up with these stories, right? They literally put the words into the actors' mouths or actresses' mouths. And yeah, I mean, I love that you talk to, you know, you don't just talk to actors, you do talk to directors and writers, because that's when you like a show, you know, the soul of the show is usually the writers, right?
Yep. And they all start, all the movies, all of the shows, they all start with words on paper. And so the people who create these shows, who make them, are writers. And listen, a ton of people work. There is no, movies and television are not single people productions. They take huge teams and everybody makes decisions. But the nugget of the thing that you love is the writing. And so I think it's really important to lift up writers, and then, directors make a lot of decisions too, and the people who are making a lot of the creative decisions behind the camera. And so I'll be doing that work at La Leaf, and you can definitely read more of it at Latino Rebels. But I think that as the writer strikes continues and we think about like what's really at stake, it really is the creative joy and genius of these productions. We've been blessed, I feel like, with a lot of great movies and television shows, but we don't get those without writers, and preferably without writers, let's say, making enough money so that they can keep being writers and get better at their craft, because the more they do it, the better they get. And so if they don't have those opportunities, then we're going to get not as good stuff. So plug for writers.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what I gotta say. Plug for the WGA. I hope that people start to recognize the importance of that role.
I mean, I don't think it should be like Venezuela or Cuba, but I think there should be like huge public funding for the arts, right? For artists, right? Because you can't make great art if your stomach's rumbling all the time and you're worrying about how you're going to pay the rent, how you're going to feed your kids. You need to have that kind of freedom in your mind, that space in your mind, to really come up with great stuff. And that's partly why we don't see a lot of Latinos in Hollywood. One, because the doors are kept shut in our faces, but two, because we have to worry about other shit, right? A lot, especially first generation, the goal is to, get a job and help our parents generation, help our grandparents, help our siblings, especially if you're the oldest, right? Or anybody, right? Whoever gets in has to help everybody else. But as far as the, I know we have a few more minutes, but as far as the Flaming Hot thing, I mean, I think that will be, not only is it Flaming Hot Cheetos, right? Which is like, I don't know, it's like hot dogs to Chicagoans with Latinos, right? It's just, it's especially for a Latina, right? I mean, we could say Flaming Hot Cheetos are a Latino thing, but it's a Latina thing. I mean, I know how many Latinas I've met with, red fingertips, and not on their nails, just on their, but it's also Eva Longoria's, feature directorial debut, which is like, it kind of makes me proud in a weird way, because I remember her from Desperate Housewives, right? And I've seen her over the years, make moves. She got her degree. Now she's become like this kind of, grand dame of like Latino culture and society. And this is her feature directorial debut. It's about hot Cheetos. I mean, it's, it's like a Latino renaissance in a way, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it can be if we keep pushing and we show up. I mean, the statistics are out that we do indeed show up in higher numbers, and that, they call it diverse but they mean like people of color films do better than white mainstream films, and we do show up in numbers. So the economic case is there. Our community is showing up, and there is quality stuff being made, but there's also stuff, I don't know. I think about like Selena and how it should have had the budget that The Crown had, right? But it didn't. It didn't have anywhere near close to those types of budgets. And so we need to keep sort of pushing at the door and say, like, listen, you give us the money, the time, the space, we will make amazing stuff. Our community will watch it. It will be good, and other people will watch it too, and we'll make you money. You just have to get over sort of your fear, racism, xenophobia of our community, and there's amazing stuff that's on the cusp of happening or already happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's the transition, right, where America's at. They're going from seeing Latinos as the help, right, the chef, the maid, the landscaper, to creative genius, artistic genius, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard if you think of Latinos as the help. It's hard for you to think of them as Shakespeare, but they are, right? I mean, we're everything, right? We're everything that anybody else can be. I mean, I guess let's wrap up. You want to tell everybody where they can reach you? You want to tease some of the things that you're going to be serving up in the coming weeks?
Yes, absolutely. So follow me at Escobar Andrade here on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. Definitely follow Latina Media Co. That's how it is, Latino Media Co. here and Twitter as well. Visit our site. Follow me on Latino Rebels. You'll see my stuff come up más o menos once a week or more. Um, yeah, and I'm really excited to be reporting back about La Leaf, about the filmmakers that I meet and speak to there, and also sort of my overall impressions of the festival. And then there's more cool stuff coming out. There's Spider-Man, there's Flamin' Hot, there's I'm a Virgo coming out on Prime Video. There's a bunch of really good stuff that's like in the pipeline, and I hope just more and more of it keeps coming. Blue Beetle is another big one that we'll be watching for. Good stuff coming up, so stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Christine. I know you're getting ready for your trip. I'll talk to you before then, but for everybody here watching, safe trip, and we can't wait to see what you do with the. I'm going to be following Latino Rebels IG story the whole weekend, so have fun.
I will. All right.
Bye.